We set out from home early one morning. We, my love and me, walking alone. We, birds and the bees, trees of the forest, started as one. Something went wrong.
We take ourselves very seriously with that video, I think you can tell. Someone in the audience said that one of those dogs looked like me. Hope that's not true. If you'd stand to worship this morning, I am excited and energetic. I think we all are. So let's worship our God. All right, clapping. On beat, too. Come set your rule and reign in our hearts again. Increase in us, we pray. Unveil while we were shout out your praise. We shout out your praise. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause he hung up on that cross, then he rose up from that grave. My God still rolling stones away. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. 'Cause we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. Oh, 'cause we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. Whoa, we shout out your praise. 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 People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generations, of every nation, of kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Jesus, our redemption, and our salvation is in his blood. Jesus, Lord of heaven, reign forever, his kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Oh, oh, oh.
Let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All his children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus.
Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. And all his children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Whoa, whoa,
Swing wide.
Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All his children, good hands, good hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Jesus, all redemption and all salvation is in his blood. Jesus, light of heaven, friend forever, his kingdom come. Lord God, we just thank you for this beautiful morning. Thank you for your spirit. We thank you for another breath, another chance that we get to dive in and learn more about you. Another chance to live a day and to find ways to be blessings to others, to show you to others. God, I just ask that you just give us an energy today. That we go out and we can do your will, that we can feel strengthened and powerful because of you, God. To go out and do things to change the world for your will. We love you. We worship you this morning. Thank you for being here. I ask that you stay like I always do, God. Just be here. We appreciate your time and your spirit here with us. And we don't deserve it. Yet you're still here. So thank you. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good morning. Did you miss me? It wasn't a trick question. It was a plea for affirmation. Did you miss me? Great. I'll only ask 5 more times. For those of you who are new and you're like, why is this guy so weird? I was gone last week. First time I've missed a church service in like 3 years. My wife and I were sent by the church congregation down to the Billy Graham.
Sorry, I stole your spotlight.
I don't know why I do that all the time. I was not raised Catholic one bit. Anyway, we went down to the Billy Graham Cove. The church gave us a gift last year for pastor appreciation, and then 2020 happened. And so we got to use it this past week. And I can describe for you my trip in 3 pictures that I can't show you because they're on my phone. One is a picture of the beautiful Blue Ridge Parkway that we drove, and it's gorgeous. There were trees, there was fog, there was all sorts of wonderful things. The second one is a picture of the menu that I took for Art, my stepdad, because he literally sent me a text at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time saying, "Have you eaten yet? Was it good? What was it? And was there enough?" My answer to all of the questions was no, 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 no. We hadn't eaten, so I didn't know what it was, if it was good, or had there been enough. There was plenty of food. It was delicious. The last picture is in fitting form with today's message, which you'll understand in a little bit. I have a picture of a 5-foot doily of the Last Supper. If you've ever seen that famous picture of the Last Supper, there's some, I'm just going to assume, okay? I'm going to assume it was a woman. Some woman decided to crochet a 5-foot doily in recreation of that famous painting, and they put it in a frame and hung it on the wall. And regardless of what your opinion is of that, it exists. So, if you're new with us this morning, thank you for joining us. This is Max over here. Max, wave your hand. Max sets up a welcome table that's staffed by someone from our church every Sunday. If you want to know more about why they let me talk, or what we believe, or why we believe any of those things, you can stop at that welcome table after church. It's right out there in the entryway. We'd be happy to give you a gift as well. Lots of great things. If you're a Hillcity attender and you want to give, there are 3 ways you can do that. You can give in the box in the back. You can give online on our website, or you can give through our brand new app, which we're very excited about. If you haven't downloaded our app, we would love to have you do that. We're streaming live on our website and the app now, and we're super excited that we don't have to rely on Facebook and YouTube anymore. It's just all right there on the Hillcity app for all of you watching online. You can also keep up with lots of stuff going on at our church throughout the week with that. If you haven't liked us on Facebook or follow us on social media, I want to apologize. My intent and my goal this week was to record and stream the Ask Aaron segment of every week from North Carolina. I had a hiccup with technology, and then our internet at home is satellite internet, and we have a data limit. And so apparently while Max was watching our house, he streamed every season of every television show that's ever existed. And when I got home, I couldn't upload the 20-minute video without taking out a second mortgage on my house. So I will answer none of that's true, except for the data limit part. We will have the answers to those questions this coming week when I can go to my parents' house and use their internet to upload it. Anyway, you can connect with us. That's how we share everything that we do. And if you need prayer today after my message, which you probably will, we'll have 2 people over here to my right, your left, and they'd love to pray with you during the last couple songs. I'm not going to tell you that they're bored or sad, because they're just here waiting to pray with you, and that's the most important part, okay? Couple announcements I'd like to bring to your attention. I believe there is Dames this week. There's not. You've gone ahead and canceled everything while I was gone. Moving on to the next slide. Christianity 101. I would love to teach a class that's starting this coming Wednesday night at 7 p.m. about the basics of Christianity, about things like the Bible and what it means to be saved, and where the Bible came from, what Christians believe and why. I would love to teach that class. We've been promoting it online, and so far 0 of you have signed up. And so I'll be there Wednesday night ready to teach the class either way. There's dinner at 6, and then there's the class at 7. There is a Google form that you can fill out on our Facebook page, but if you would like to take that class and you want to let me know that you're coming, you can talk to me after church. It's at the Teens for Christ building, which is where we have youth group, but we've got a whole room just for adults, and we're ready and excited to go. If that's something you'd like to do, please do speak to me after church today. Last thing I want to talk to you about is the Hillcity Marriage Retreat. Can I get arms up if you've ever gone on a Hillcity Marriage Retreat? Okay? They're a lot of fun. Ben, well, you did. That's true. You came. Never mind. It's a long story that I can't tell you right now. If you've ever been on one of these, you know that we like to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of free time. And there's also a lot of really real and raw conversation about marriage and why it's important. And we here at Hillcity believe very strongly that strong marriages lead to strong families, which leads to strong children growing up to be strong followers of Jesus, and then the whole cycle just repeats itself. And so we feel very, very strongly that we need to invest in our marriages with one another. And so we're going to go, and I know November 18th is deer hunting opener weekend. I guarantee you there's a place up there that you can go deer hunting. You get free time. There's 3 hours of free time. Just bring your whatever you shoot a deer with and hide it in your truck. I don't know. But why is that the most controversial thing I said all day? People go deer hunting. They're not going to wrestle it to the ground and like suffocate it. They'll probably shoot it. What is happening? I'm gone 1 week and the whole place goes sideways. Anyway, you missed me. I didn't say anything silly. Here's the point. We'd love for you to come. It's Thursday night through Saturday at about lunchtime. And one of the best parts about this weekend is that you get to know other people from our church. We're a size now where, not everybody knows everybody and not everybody has a relationship. And so this is usually about 15 to 20 couples, 30 to 40 people that come, and you really get a chance to get to know people on a deeper level. And the food's great. The company is pretty good. There's a lot of time to just hang out, but also a great time to invest in your relationship. There's a Google form online for you to sign up for this as well. It costs $250 to come, but if you can't afford that, there are scholarships available. People will pay for you to come. Don't let money be the reason you don't sign up for this. It is one of those, we've had one every year since we started the church, and every year it fills up. So don't wait. Jump online. Make sure to sign up for it. Either, if you're newly married or you've been married 40, 50 years, it's totally worth your time, I promise. With that being said, I think we're going to show a video now so I can recover from whatever is happening. Christy, go for it.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Oh, man. You didn't think you were going to see that. Just two dudes dancing in front of a chalkboard wall. Good morning. Week. Good morning. I just spent 3 days with a room full of 300 pastors. Every time the person in the front wanted them to do something, they blindly followed because they know what it's like to be left hanging to dry in the front of the room. So I just want you to know it was a great time. Feel really, really thankful that you guys would do that for us. And I did, I watched the service online last week, and Dan, who was our guest speaker, asked me to pause it while you talked about me, and I did. I didn't even go back and rewatch it. So I hope it was a good time. The service went off without a hitch. I was really, really thankful for that. We have been talking about being a family, about knowing the best and worst parts of each other, about what it means to be a member of the family of Christ, the family of God. I've talked about how I grew up in a small church and everybody knew everything about each other, the good parts and the bad parts. And I wound up at a giant church across the river. And I learned a lot there, but there were also just times when I felt like in a place that big, it was hard to belong. It was hard to feel like we were a part of a church family. And I share all of that because I think all of us have this need to be a part of a family, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. There's data out there that shows that kids who grow up in strong nuclear families come out more well-adjusted and high-functioning members of society. They're happier and they accomplish a lot of things. Even if it's a single parent trying to hang on, when they join a community of people that help them raise and mentor their kids, the kids come out better. I know I did, and I think for a lot of us that was the case. And I tell you all this because I don't think that need ever goes away. I don't think we ever stop needing to belong to something larger than ourselves. We need a group of people who knows the best and worst parts about us and who's willing to go through the junk of life with us. And I think all of us have probably had something like that, whether it was a team or a family unit or a church growing up. You know, maybe you were a part of Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or whatever yours is. I think you still have that need and that drive to find that family experience today because you've experienced it. You see the power in it, and you know that you're better because of it. But families are weird, right? They can bring incredible highs in one moment and then just wreck you in the next. And they can be the people who love and support you one day and then unfortunately in many cases be those who hurt you the most. And all of us still hold fast to this idea that blood runs thicker than water. And even when we don't feel like we have anything left to give, we still find it in ourselves to give, and we don't even know how or why, but we do it anyway. And I believe that it's because we were created that way. We were designed. We were made with the literal, emotional, spiritual, and physical need to belong to a family. And if the family we have on earth isn't necessarily the one we wish we had, it's good to know that as followers of Jesus, we belong to the family of Christ, that we are a part of what I just consider to be a shadow of what is to come when we get to heaven. Just God's family at work in us and through us, that we belong to something so much greater than ourselves. This morning I want to tell you a story about my sister-in-law. We'll see if she's paying attention. My sister-in-law first came to dinner at my parents' house, and my job as my brother's keeper was to make her life as interesting as possible for the 3 hours she spent with us. I asked her several questions. We debated things spiritedly, and we got to know each other rather well that first evening. It's my job, right? Right away, we got to screen her to see if she's going to pass the test. She did. She's a wonderful woman. She married my brother, and she came to her first family Christmas, and that's when everything fell apart. It turns out, Lene hates Christmas. She hates it. And you know how I know she hates Christmas? Because she refuses to watch the Claymation Christmas special with our family the way every person should. Apparently, she finds Claymation to be creepy. I tried to hold her eyes open while pinning her to the floor and making her watch it, and then I threatened to get toothpicks and tape them to her forehead. But I'm going to show you a clip, and I don't think there's anything creepy about it. Christy, let's show the video.
Tonight our concert is with the Paris Bell Harmonic, the house orchestra here at Notre Dame Cathedral. I have a hunch they'll give us a wonderful performance under the baton of Maestro Quasimodo.
That's the most normal thing you've ever seen. How could you ever celebrate Christmas without that? You can't. You can't. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. Every family does weird stuff. We watch that silly video every year. There's like 40 minutes of it, and I'm with Lene, to be honest with you. Claymation is weird. Yeah. Here's the thing. When you entered into your new family, husbands, wives, if you've ever, been on a date and gone to their, it's just something about it is always strange, right? There's always just this one tradition or thing that they do. Lene's family does this weird thing where at the end of the birthday song, they add a bunch of things and then they like hit each other in the forehead. It's insane. I don't know what it is. And some of you, I actually bought a shirt last year for some people in our church. Bunch of homeschool kids in this church. We got to keep homeschool weird for them. Homeschool kids wear weirdness as a badge of honor, right? They like walk around talking about the fact that they're homeschooled. And the best part was when I bought the shirt, some members of my family were afraid I was going to offend the homeschool families. They celebrate it. They want to know where I can get one. Every family has weird stuff. Movies they watch, traditions that they have, things that they have around the house, things that they do for each other. Get this one, pet names, right? Things you call your spouse or your kids. Esther started calling Zeke Bubby because she couldn't get out brother. She's now 5, almost 6, and Zeke's 9, and we still call him Bubby. And from that, you're supposed to get that his name's Ezekiel. I know there is a stigma about certain types of people, right? Just even the stigma about homeschool kids. Stuff is weird when you go visit other people and their families. But I'm not naive enough to think that there's nothing weird about the church. There's nothing weird about Christianity. I'm not too proud to admit that I think if we went out into public and asked a group of 10 people whether or not Christians were a little bit weird, that they'd say yes, right? I'm not too proud to admit that. They'd say yes, right? They say, yeah, you guys believe weird things. You say weird things. You do weird things. I mean, think about it. Maybe you grew up in a church where there was call and response, right? Where the pastor said something and then everybody said it back like it was some sort of cult. Right? Or maybe you haven't really thought about it, but every month on the first Sunday of the month, we have a table set up with grape juice and some bread. And if you've never been to church before, you're like, oh, is this brunch? It's very small portion sizes. What's happening here? Like, if you really stop and think about it, it's weird. And so, yes, we try to explain it. Let me ask you, when you go to a town hall meeting or your kids' PTO, or do you stand and sing 3 songs at the beginning? All right, now we're all going to sing together. Everybody stand up. This woman's brought her guitar and she's going to lead us in, a song. No. We do weird stuff. So it might surprise you that people are talking about us behind our backs. They're saying, hey, do you know those Christians that they do this weird thing, or they say that weird thing, they believe that weird thing? But I, as the pastor of this church, and some high-ranking official members of our church, the most important of us, perhaps believe that it is important or even imperative that we keep our church weird. Let me explain. Part of the family atmosphere is that you are most comfortable around the members of your family. You operate in a spirit of truth. We've already discussed families are weird, but families are open and honest, or should be open and honest with each other more than they are with anyone else, right? You know all the crazy stuff to, like, you know, that your brother has a double thick toenail, or your sister has more earwax than, I mean, you know every weird thing about your family members. And then the other thing that's true about families is they usually are able to sort of pick up where they left off and have the most fun with each other, right? Some of the best memories you probably had if you came from a great family are sitting around and playing a board game or watching a movie and laughing together and sharing in all of the joy that family can bring. I have a couple stories about art that I'd love to share, but they are not church appropriate. And so as a church, we hope and we believe that we can be real with each other, that we can laugh with each other. We hope that we can experience each other in our purest and most stripped down forms, and that we can find it in ourselves to still care about one another as we know those things. We want to be weird with one another and yet still be reverent. And that's a hard line to walk, right? That's a weird balance. And so it begs a question: what does it mean for the church to be weird? Because some of you are going, I don't think this is in the Bible. It doesn't say thou shalt keep church weird. Kind of does. Stick with me for a minute. Proverbs 17, 21 and 22 says this: he who sires a fool, he who is responsible for a fool, gets himself sorrow, and the father of a fool has no joy. But a joyful heart is good medicine, and a crushed spirit dries up the bones. If you raise your kids, if you are a part of a family where people aren't living out godly wisdom in their life, there's not going to be much fun. There's not going to be joy. It says that you'll have sorrow and no joy. It also says that a joyful heart is good medicine. And so there are reasons to think that God is okay with smiling, that God is fine with celebration, that there are opportunities in church to laugh so hard that you cry, and that there are things about being a member of this church family that only you and I will get because we belong here. And if we're doing the whole Christianity thing correctly, there are going to be times when people look at us and they say, man, those people are weird. And I think that that's a good thing. Let me explain to you why. The first reason I think that's true is that God is the creator of family fun. I shared with you during the first week of this series that my entire family often is a part of this thing that my mom has dubbed Family Fun Night, where we all gather together and somebody gets to pick where we go for dinner and what we do, and we never let Jordan pick because he always picks he wants to go see Alien versus Predator. And my mom has kiboshed that. We will never be seeing that movie. But God invented the family. And God invented the idea of families being a safe place for people to have fun. God has a sense of humor. And if you don't believe that God has a sense of humor, just do me a favor and pray for something like patience or self-control. Pray for God to give you patience and then wait around to see how God sits in heaven and goes, okay, you asked for it. Here it comes. Let me give you an opportunity to exhibit patience or self-control. And if that doesn't work, if you still don't believe that God has a sense of humor, just have kids. Just one. One would be enough. In the book of Genesis, There's a story about a guy named Abraham and his wife Sarah, and they have been promised by God that their descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky, that they would have more descendants than they could even keep track of. And then this weird thing happened. Abraham got old. And he was starting to think, this is never going to happen for me. And his wife Sarah was like, yeah, I'm too old to have kids. I don't know what God was talking about. And then an even weirder thing happens, and suddenly Sarah is pregnant. And Sarah has the baby. Let's read it from Genesis chapter 21. It says, the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him through Sarah, Isaac. And the name Isaac literally means laughter. It means he will laugh. And then in a not so funny thing, Abraham circumcised his son when he was 8 days old, and God had commanded him to do that. And Abraham, who was 100 years old, had his son Isaac. And Sarah turned to her husband Abraham at the ripe old age of 100 and said, God has made laughter for me, and everyone who hears this story will laugh over me. Who would have said to Abraham and Sarah, oh yeah, Sarah's going to have a baby at 100 and she'll be able to nurse her child, and yet I have borne this son in my old age. God's promise coming true through Abraham and Sarah was sort of this funny joke, because they knew that there was this promise between God and Abraham, and yet he made them wait until they were 100 years old. Now, I am going to turn 40 in like 5 months, and I can't keep up with a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. Can you imagine being 100 and trying to take care of a newborn? Sarah and Abraham literally named their son Laughter because the joy of the Lord filled them at his birth, but also they laughed because of the fact that God chose to wait until their very old age to deliver on his promise. She's laughing about the fact that God used her to prove what he's capable of. And if you didn't know the promise that God made to them, you wouldn't get the joke. You'd just be like, oh, there's an old lady, she has a child, that's weird. But to Abraham and Sarah, it's a laughing matter. It's a joyful thing. Look, God really does fulfill his promises. And this was not the way we expected, but man, it's cool that it happened. I'm going to be honest with you, there are times that I intentionally try to work joy and laughter into our messages and into our time together. There are times that we try to bring laughter into the service, and it's not just because I believe that it reflects a part of God's character, because I do believe that to be true. I believe that it also humanizes us. It brings us together. We can communally laugh and experience joy together, and it lowers our guard. It brings down barriers. And so sometimes showing a clip from a funny movie or telling a joke to help lighten the mood makes people feel more comfortable. And it puts us in a frame of mind where we're relaxed and we're more ready to receive some of the stuff that God wants to speak to our hearts. But I also do it for another reason. Because those movie clips may come to mind, or you may see them the next time you watch that film, and hopefully it triggers for you the principle that we talked about in that message. Hopefully it brings back to mind what we were talking about. Just like every year when we watch Claymation Christmas, we remember all the things Lene has tried to do to get out of watching it. Right? We share, remember that year you were going to stick toothpicks in her eyelids? Yeah, I do. And maybe, you're watching a clip from, many of you weren't here, but years and years ago. Our church is 9 years old, so many years ago. I preached an entire series of messages based on clips from the movie Dumb and Dumber. Someone told me it couldn't be done, and I proved them wrong. But maybe when people go back and watch that movie, something will come to them. Oh yeah, remember when Aaron talked about this? Or remember when this was the thing that he was talking about? And, you bring a little bit of redemption to that otherwise ridiculous film. It helps people to remember the point that we're trying to make, because laughter brings us together. It lowers our defenses. As a person who has struggled with anxiety and bouts of depression throughout my life, I'm really fond of this thing called laugh therapy, where you literally get people who are depressed into a room and you just show them like super funny things and get them to laugh. And often, as a person who struggles with those things, you're kind of stuck in them and you start to feel like, oh, I don't know if I should laugh. Like, I'm supposed to be depressed. I'm supposed to be anxious. And eventually you can't control yourself. Guys, I know it's weird, but like one of the funniest movies to me is the movie Dodgeball. And it's just because they literally throw wrenches at people and they get hit in the face with them, and then you can't not laugh at watching a guy get hit with a wrench in the face. Or maybe I'm just weird. And so sometimes when I'm having a cruddy day or a bad week, I just Google that scene in the movie where they're throwing wrenches at a guy, and I let it bring me back to a place of, wait, I can take a breath. There is joy. Life is still going to be okay. But that's not the only way we want church to be weird, right? We don't just want to show weird clips or have weird shared experiences. I think weird is a way of life for Christians. The Apostle Peter uses a bunch of weird church words to talk about this exact point, that weird should be a way of life. And so I'm going to let him try to make the point, and then I'm going to explain to you what I think he means. Peter says this: put away all malice and deceit and hypocrisy and envy and slander, and like newborn infants, you long for pure spiritual milk, that by that milk you might grow up into the understanding of what it means to be saved, if indeed you have tasted and seen that the Lord is good. And as you come to him, a living stone rejected by men, but in the sight of God you are chosen and precious, you yourselves are like living stones that are being built up as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood and to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. I'm going to be honest with you. If you haven't been to church in a while, there's a lot of weird stuff. They're talking about babies drinking milk and cornerstones and spiritual sacrifices, and it's weird. Here's what Peter is trying to say. His point is this: once you have experienced Jesus and become a part of his family, you're supposed to become a changed person. Things about you are supposed to become different than they were before you knew Jesus. You need to grow into a more dedicated follower. And at the beginning of that process, just like when you have a tiny little baby, you feed it milk. So at the beginning, you just take little bite-sized chunks, okay? Try not to get angry every time your kids or your spouse does this. Try not to, explode at work when this situation happens. Try to pray like 5 minutes a day. But eventually, as you grow, you start to eat more and more solid food. You start to do more and more stuff. You start to tackle bigger issues in your life. And so you start to grow. But what happens is, as you become that different person, people around you start noticing, hey, have you seen that? Yeah, I'm going to pick up. There's no Phyllis here, right? Is anybody here named Phyllis? Great. That usually works. Hey, have you seen Phyllis at lunch? She always bows her head and repeats a bunch of words to herself before she eats. It's a little strange. Yeah, and did you see when Joni was having a bad day, she went over there and put her hand on her, and then they both closed their eyes and they were crying, and at the end of it, we don't, do you do that? I don't do that. And then when Bill's when Bill's wife, when Bill's wife was dead, he was all by himself, and Phyllis brought over a bunch of food, and they came over to help him cut down trees after that storm. Why are they, that's not normal. People start to look at us, and it says, even Jesus was rejected in his own time. Even Jesus went to spiritual places, and Pharisees looked at him and said, you're not religious enough. You're not doing it correctly. And other people said, this guy's just walking around telling people that he's the Son of God. This is weird. This is different. And if we think Jesus was rejected in his own day, we can be very sure that Jesus and his teachings and his principles are rejected today. And so as we strive to become more like Jesus, as we start to look more like him and act more like him, people are going to think we're weird for believing in him and for trying to follow him with our lives. And here's what Peter says. If you get called weird for trying to follow Jesus, that means you're doing it right. That means you're actually doing it. He continues, behold, I am laying in Zion a stone, a cornerstone, chosen and precious. And whoever believes in Jesus will not be put to shame. So the honor is for those of you who believe, those of you who follow. The stone that the builders rejected, Jesus, who everyone rejected, has become the cornerstone of your life and your faith. There are people who will see that stone and they will stumble, they will be offended because they disobey and they don't understand. But you, followers of Jesus, are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a family for his own possession, so that you can proclaim the excellency of him who called you out of darkness into marvelous light. Once you were not his people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. I urge you, Peter says, as sojourners and exiles, as people who don't belong and who are just wandering and passing through this place, to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your very soul, and instead keep your conduct honorable, so that when they speak of you as evildoers, they will see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he comes again. In other words, when they see all the weird stuff you do, they might mock you, they might make fun of you, but someday it's all going to make sense because Jesus is going to come again and they're going to go, oh my gosh, the weirdos were right. Peter says that when we follow Jesus, he's going to ask us to do weird things. Guys, it's awkward to just walk up to someone and ask them if you can pray for them. It's strange. He's going to ask you to abstain, to not do things that everybody else is doing, right? No, I don't watch that kind of movie. No, I don't go to that kind of place. No, I don't say those kinds of words. No, we don't do that with our kids. They're kind of weird. I know. It's going to make you stand out. You're going to be the people that everybody talks about, like that family down the street. But eventually, if they're smart and they start to catch on to what God is doing in your life, if they see the results and the joy that come from following God in your life, they're going to want to be weird too. There's a psalm, Psalm 126. It says, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter and our tongues with shouts of joy. And we said to those among the nations, the Lord has done great things for us. The Lord has done great things, and we are glad. This psalm illustrates both of this morning's points pretty eloquently. God has chosen us and restored us. He has brought us together. He has bought us at a price. He calls us and makes us his own. And for those reasons alone, we should experience joy. We should be happy and glad. We should laugh and be just filled with excitement over what God has done in our lives. Without God's help, we would be stuck in our sin, we wouldn't know him, we wouldn't follow him, and we would have little or no shot to make an impact in our world. But perhaps more important is the joy and the pride that we can take in our weirdness. Our willingness to follow God is what makes Christianity so contagious, because people see us doing weird stuff. Think about this. I have this crazy thought. I think funerals for people who follow Jesus should be happy. I think they should be fun. I think they should be a celebration. It's a weird thought to the world. I find that in suffering is when I do my greatest personal growth. I'm not down about the fact that I'm going through junk because I'm trying to figure out what I could learn through it. I think that admitting fault and weakness is a sign of strength. When we do weird stuff like that, it makes our lives better, and it means that we're more content and we're more joyful, and eventually people are going to be like, have you seen those Christians? They're super weird. And then the person they're talking to is going to go, yeah, they are weird, but do you notice how happy they are? Do you notice how content they seem to be? So yeah, our church is weird. The pastor is weird. Some of the stuff we do here is weird. Some of the stuff we show here or believe here is weird. And yes, we love to laugh and have fun and celebrate what makes us unique. But it is because we place a priority on being real with one another. And I don't think that goes against our main goal or purpose, which is we want to follow Jesus better. And so we're going to invite our worship team back up. We're going to sing a couple songs. But you guys, I truly believe that God is the creator of family fun. God created us to belong to a group of people who enjoy one another's company and laugh and celebrate with one another. And I believe that weird is a way of life. That God is calling us to different and to stand out. And so we wear weirdness as a badge of honor. And here's the thing, I know our church isn't for everyone. We don't do much call and response here. Maybe that was something that was important to you, and that's fine. There are churches that do that, and they're great churches. We don't sing a ton of hymns. We don't have pews, and if that's important to you, that's fine. We know we're weird. But we believe weird has a place in this world, and more importantly, it has a place in the kingdom of God. And sure, there are things that we do to try to make things less weird and less awkward and easier to understand, but as a general rule, we want to keep church weird because we think God's okay with that. And we hope you are too. So don't forget, there are two weirdos over here during the last two songs that would love to pray with you. They'd love to lay hands on you and ask an invisible God to impact your life in a way that only you will ever know if it happened. And if that's weird to you, that's okay. Would you stand and sing these last couple songs with us this morning?
Is it going to be a problem that your worship leader is super normal? Okay. All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. No, you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. we thought we'd end with something joyful, happy. Clap, dance. Let's get your weird on.
The Macarena?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does anyone here know all the words to the No one does.
It's not
Not even the guy who wrote it.
All right. Let's do this.
And I was walking the wayside, lost on a lonely road. And I was chasing the highlight, trying to satisfy my soul. And all the lies I believed in left me crying like the rain. Oh, then I saw lightning from heaven, and I've never been the same. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. And I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Let's get it. I felt the sting of the fire, but I saw you in the flames. Just when I thought it was over, you broke me out of the grave. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Yeah, yeah, oh, I am a child of love. Yeah, yeah, oh, I am a child of love.
Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. I'm gonna climb a mountain. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom. I am a child of love. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Yeah, yeah, I am a child of love. Yeah, yeah, I am a child of love.
Okay, here's what I want to end with. You know, whether you're a homeschool kid or public school kid, private school kid, doesn't matter. We all go through that weird, awkward junior high phase, right? We do. Sorry, Joe Stevenson. And when you're that weird junior high kid, what do you want more than anything, it's to feel like you belong, to feel like somebody knows you and cares about you, and you come home and you just pray that mom or dad puts their arms around you. And they say, I get you, I see you, I love you. You're weird and it's okay. And that's what God is saying and doing for us. You're different, you're special, you're unique. But I see you and I love you. And we want to be the kind of church where anyone is welcome and everyone feels loved. And that doesn't mean that we all agree about what they're doing or how they're doing it. We're all sinners, we're all saved by grace, we're all trying to get better. But we want people to come in, and instead of feeling weird because they're outcasts, we want them to feel weird because they're insiders. It's the kind of church we want to have. We're weird, and we're happy about it. Thank you for being weird with me this morning. I promise next Sunday's message will be about something way more normal. Have a great week. We'll see you then.
That nothing in the universe could ever separate me from Jesus' everlasting love. There's no